Today I'm going to talk about our work, ACORN, input validation for secure aggregation. And this is a joint work with my colleagues James, Audrey, Tancred, Sarah, Mariana, and Cassie. Okay, so let's get started. So our work is about secure aggregation in the setting of a single server. So this picture basically illustrates the underlying idea. So the basic setup, we have a powerful central server, and there could be like potentially a lot of clients, say for example 10,000 of clients. And during the execution of the protocol, some clients may become unavailable, so they may drop out. And for correctness, we want our protocol to make sure that the server, if the number of dropout clients is small, then the server can still learn the sum of the user contribution of the remaining of the surviving client. And most importantly, we want to protect user security, even if there's a small percentage of colluding client, the corrupted clients. So all those clients are colluding with the server. So we want to make sure that our protocol still protect individual users' input. And another important measure for us is that because this is a large-scale protocol, we want to be the protocol to be communication efficient. So the previous work already showed that there exists a protocol that every client just need to talk to log many its neighbors in order to establish this single server aggregation protocol. So in real world, the single server aggregation protocol has been used in many products for a couple of years now. For example, in the Gboard on Android, the next word prediction feature is actually use this aggregation protocol. And for another example, on the Pixel phones, there's a feature called not playing, so it can identify the music around you. So it uses like a local database, and the product actually uses the single server aggregation protocol to improve their local database of the sound fingerprint. So our work is based on a previous work from CCS 2020. So I'm going to show you the basic protocol flow. So because our protocol essentially use their protocol as the template. So at the beginning of the protocol, every client will talk to its neighbors in a subprotocol called share seed. So the goal of this subprotocol is for every client to learn a set of pairwise seed and a self-masking seed, and two sets of secret shares. So one to help the case when the client drops out, and another to help the server to learn the aggregation of the self-masking secret at the end of the protocol. So if a client survives up to this point, then the client can apply a pseudo-random generator or AES in practice to expand the seed into a masking secret. And then they uses this masking secret to encode their input. So after this, all the surviving client and the server will join a recovery aggregation key protocol. This subprotocol allows the server to learn the aggregation of self-masking secret, and also allows the server to remove the pairwise masking secret of the dropout client. So with all those knowledge, the server can now decrypt or decode the aggregation result. So from our experience with this protocol, we have identified two areas of the inefficiencies. So this brings us to the contribution in our work. I'm going to first talk about an improvement, optimal or more efficient secure aggregation protocol using the ring learning with error as the encoding scheme. So next, I'm going to talk about how to extend the secure aggregation protocol with the input validation capacity. So this allows the server to detect, and in some cases allow the server to exclude invalid input. Okay, let me start with the more efficient ReNW variant of the secret aggregation. So in the previous protocol, as I mentioned in the earlier slides, essentially every client used the PRG to expand the seed into a full-length masking secret. If the client input is long, for example, if the client input has length L, then the total cost of this AX expansion going to be L times log n. So L is the length of the input. Log n is the number of neighbors because every pair of neighbor has a pairwise masking secret. So surprisingly, this in practice PRG cost or AES cost could be expensive for especially for long input. And this brings us to our improvement. So using relearning with error. So the idea is the following: the server will publish a random polynomial A. And on the client, now the client just need to extend the seed into short and into a ReNW secret. So now the secret, this part, so this part, the ReNW secret is short, and the length of the secret is independent of the length of the input. And so now on the client, the cost will be just L. That's the number of modular multiplications, and a small amount of additive login factor. So that's the cost to expand the seed into ReNW secret. On the server, the saving is similar, and in practice, if when we have a drop-off client, the server saving is actually more significant. For security, we can prove that our protocol still protect individual users' input just by assuming the standard ReNW assumption. And now, and also our security proof doesn't need a large error. We can just go by with a very small Gaussian error. So let me show you some benchmark result. So on the left picture, you can see the client input running time. So this shows that with the ReNW variant of the protocol, the encoding time, especially for medium up to long inputs, the encoding will run much faster than the previous PRG-based protocol. And the medium plot, the medium picture shows the server running time during the decoding procedure. So this actually shows that the server time now, with the ReNW variant, the server time is essentially constant across all the input sizes. This is just mostly because the majority of the server time now spent on expanding the seed into the ReNW secret, which is independent of the input length. And such expansion is compared with the AS expansion work in the previous protocol. This expansion is relatively small, and the server speed up is actually significant. So in terms of communication, when we use ReNW as the encoding scheme, we need to spend a little bit more bandwidth to accommodate the ReNW error. But because our security proof, we can use just a very small amount of ReNW error. This show in reality in the benchmark, this shows that the total bandwidth consumptions of the ReNW protocol is almost the same as the previous PRG-based protocol. All right, so next I'm going to switch gear and to talk about input validation in the secret aggregation protocol. So why we are interested in input validation? So with the previous work, we already have a protocol that can protect users' privacy. But there could be malicious client, and malicious client can be dishonest about their input. They can carefully modify their input to influence the aggregation result in certain directions. For example, in the federated aggregation setting, where valid inputs should be just one hot vectors, but malicious client can maybe provide like a multiple signals in their input, and so that they can pollute the result. So the typical solution would be just employ zero knowledge proof systems. And for us, because we are a large-scale multi-party protocol, we want this zero-knowledge proof system to be very communication efficient. So this is because in practice, especially for the federated learning, federated aggregation applications, we need a large number of clients in order to provide privacy and also to provide accurate aggregation result. And most likely, many of the clients could be mobile devices with very limited connectivity. So for us, the bandwidth consumption is really, really important. So we really want to keep the communication costs low. And in our work, we design very communication efficient zero-knowledge protocols by exploring the specific structure of the protocol and the input. So we provide two flavors of the input validation zero-knowledge proof protocols. The basic mode, the server can detect if they're invalid input. And in the bit more advanced mode, the server can actually pinpoint which inputs are invalid, and the server can then exclude those from the aggregation. For proofs, essentially all the client needs to prove in zero knowledge that their input is small and valid. So valid just means their input meets a specification. For example, if the input is a binary vector or the input is one hot vector. And then the client has to prove that they actually follow the procedure to encode their input. And in addition, all the client has to get together, prove in zero knowledge that the aggregated secret key that is learned by the server at the end of the protocol. So this aggregated secret key should be the sum of the individual users' self-masking secret. And I'm going to skip the details of how to construct the proof, but if you're interested, you can check out our papers, and we have detailed constructions tell you how to construct those proofs. So we implemented our zero-knowledge proofs, our input validation proofs, using a customized bulletproof system. If you are familiar with the zero-knowledge proofs, bulletproof is essentially like a succinct zero-knowledge proof system. So our experimental results shows that with this customized bulletproof system, we can get very good concrete efficiency result. Even in the extreme case, for example, the client has a Boolean vector of length 1 million or 16-bit integer vectors of length 250,000. In order to generate all the proofs, it only takes about under 80 seconds per client. And more importantly, our proof system is very communication efficient. So we achieved a very small communication overhead compared with the protocol without input validation. And compared with existing works in the literature, we by using all the technique, all the tricks to construct zero-knowledge proofs, we showed our work achieve about almost like a 30 times improvement over the previous works. We also did benchmarks just to predict how expensive it is to do, for example, federated learning trainings using our protocol. For example, if we for the minutes data set with 19,000 parameters, using our protocol, we only need about 1.05 times large communication cost compared with the training using overclear, so even without secret aggregation protocol. And I'm going to show you a bit more benchmark result. So the first, this picture shows the communication cost. So from the picture, I guess the main takeaway from the picture is that the proof size is really a very tiny fraction of the total communication cost. And majority of the communication is spent on encoding, which is good because we want the most of the bandwidth to spend on actually encoding the input. And in terms of running time, our benchmark shows that with no surprise, majority of the client computation is spent on generating the zero-knowledge proofs. And but in general, the proof time essentially grows linear in terms of input time. And I guess one last slide, I'm going to show you the server time. Actually, with the PRG variant, the majority of the server time is spent on key recovery and decode. And our zero-knowledge proof verification is actually very efficient. Okay, so just a couple of words on the future work. So some maybe like a potentially interesting direction is that we may consider asynchronous client. So to let the client just speed and go, so not always stay online. And also we can consider a lattice-based proof so that we may be able to get a faster proof generation. But I guess the current limitation is the proof size is kind of like a bottleneck. So with that, conclude my talk, and thank you very much for your attention.